Well, it's become a symbol of death, pain and heartache at the centre of Australia's coronavirus pandemic. This afternoon, the Ruby Princess cruise ship finally left New South Wales. It's now been 5 weeks to the day that it arrived with infected passengers who were left to freely disembark in Sydney and unintentionally spread the virus across the country. The cruise liner had been docked at Port Kembla, south of Sydney, where our reporter Mark Reddy joins us from tonight. Mark, in the end, this turned out to be quite a late departure for the Ruby Princess.
Yeah, Jeremy, that's right. It was supposed to leave on Sunday, but given the growing number of infected crew members on board, that date was pushed back to this afternoon. Now, the Ruby Princess was responsible for one of the most deadly outbreaks of coronavirus in Australia. So given that's the case, it really was quite a bizarre send-off, with water cannon signalling the end of this saga for now. On a perfect autumn afternoon, the Ruby Princess sailed out of Port Kembla under police escort. The crew showed their thanks at the end of a visit that's left a trail of devastation in its wake.
This has been, without a doubt, the worst public health disaster this community, this state and this nation has ever faced.
And one that continues to cause headaches, with at least 11 infected crew taken to hospital late this afternoon. For around 300 Filipinos desperate to get off the ship, though, it was an early morning scramble for buses. Nothing could wipe the smiles off their faces, with home now on the horizon.
Honestly, they all looked the usual self, talking about what they would be doing, what they'd be eating when they go back to the Philippines.
For those still on board, an email received by the ABC revealed their anxiety about the journey ahead. "We have been given no option to leave. We have to stay on board. Myself and my family are worried and scared of what will happen next." Some residents who came to farewell the cruise ship were threatened with fines for non-essential travel. Most were glad to see the back of it. Are you happy to see it leave?
Yes.
Why is that?
We don't want any more COVID-19 around the Illawarra.
After spending more than a month stranded in Australian waters, this is certainly a welcome departure. Health authorities say none of the hundreds of crew on board has coronavirus. Their next stop is Manila.
This is definitely a positive ending for most. I'd like to thank all authorities who've made this possible.
Princess Cruises continued to decline requests for an interview, but did release a statement. Thank you to the crew of the Ruby Princess and the local community, who never lost sight of the fact that this was about people caught up in difficult circumstances, not of their making. The troubled cruise ship now out of sight, but not out of mind. Mark Reddy, ABC News, Port Kembla.
Well, before the Ruby Princess set sail, the manager who was responsible for all guests on board gave evidence to the Special Commission of Inquiry via video link. He expressed his surprise that New South Wales health officials did not send a team on board to assess sick passengers. The hotel manager said the inspections were made on the previous cruise earlier in the pandemic. State political reporter Ashley Raper has this report.
An inquiry during this kind of crisis is not without its challenges.
We're missing what the witness is saying, Commissioner.
The witness was Charles Vival, the Ruby Princess hotel manager.
I apologise for the difficulty you've got hearing me and I've got hearing you. We're both, I was almost going to say in the same boat. We're actually not in the same boat, but we're both experiencing the same difficulty.
Those difficulties, though, pale into insignificance compared to the problems surrounding the cruise ship and the decision to allow passengers to disembark in Sydney on March the 19th.
We were very surprised that we did not have the same treatment from New South Wales Public Health as we did on the 8th.
On March the 8th, the Ruby Princess docked in Sydney. State health officials went on board to assess sick passengers before allowing anybody off. The ship then set off on its next and now infamous voyage, but when it returned, New South Wales Health didn't send a team in.
Can you tell the Commissioner why you were surprised by that decision?
Because all the other steps that we have taken were exactly the same as we did before arriving in Sydney on the 8th. We did the same before arriving in Sydney on the 19th. That is why.
Did you yourself have a greater concern about the possibility of passengers or crew on board the ship having undiagnosed COVID-19 on the 19th of March?
I would guess so, since we are further down the line.
The Premier ordered this inquiry, she says, to give the public answers. But if openness and transparency was the aim, it didn't start well. When the hearings began yesterday, the public wasn't even told.
Do you think you made a mistake by not telling the public that it was on, to have a secret inquiry?
Well, you'd have to ask Mr Walker that. When I had a
Why aren't you asking Mr Walker that? You're our representative.
Because it would be highly inappropriate for any member of government to suggest to Mr Walker on how he should conduct the inquiry.
The Commissioner, Brett Walker SC, addressed the concerns, saying the hearings were organised quickly and next time there'll be more notice.